Hey, what's going on, guys? We're back with part 10 of our Learn 2 Shop tutorial. And I remember last time we were just finishing up our generic health script. But before we move on to actually implementing this health here, one thing I forgot I wanted to do with the enemy is if he gets too far away from the player, we're going to turn him around. So at the bottom of our update function, we're going to do a check here. And to check to see if the enemy is too far away from the player, we're going to make another method just to keep it clean. We'll do if enemy too far from player, then speed equals negative speed. Now, one thing you have to keep in mind is that this is called every frame. So, well, actually, I have a better idea. We'll just, instead of reversing him, we're just going to destroy him. Because we could have it so we can turn him around and then wait a certain amount of time before we check again. But instead of trying to implement all these more waiting statements, and I'm trying to keep the code as simple as possible. Okay, so let's go ahead and make another bool enemy too far from player. What we're gonna do is return vector3.distance. I'll explain this once I'm done. It's easier to explain something once I've already typed it up than as I'm typing it. We'll do transform dot position and game object dot. We'll do player dot transform dot position. Okay, so what this is, well, hold on, it's greater than 20. So what this is saying is, first, vector3.distance is a method that's inside the Unity engine, and what it does is take two vector3s, or positions in space, and get the distance between them. So in this case, we're taking our own transforms position as the first one, and the second world position is the player's transform position. And then if that is greater than 20, return true, and if it's less than 20, it's going to return false. Okay, now you'll see we have a red line underneath this player here. That's because we haven't created that that variable yet. So we're going to make a new private game object, and we're going to call him player. And now you see the red line goes away, but our problem isn't fixed because we created this player guy, but because the enemies are getting spawned in, this isn't something that we can drag onto the enemy, because it has to happen at runtime, and also I made it private. So the way we can do this is inside of our start function, we'll do player equals game object dot find game object with tag player. Okay, so now with this is another built-in function where it pulls through every single game object in the scene and gets the one with a tag player. So let's go ahead and just see if I can get this working here. I'll pause the video. Alrighty, we're back, so let's go ahead and choose our capsule. We're going to rename him to player, actually. And right here where it says tag, that's what we need to change to tag. Make it player. That reminds me, I remember I talked about this a while ago, but I never really brought it up. If you go to Edit, Project Settings, and Input, here is where our buttons are kept. So I remember if I typed in the jump button, that's one of the default ones, but if you wanted to add more buttons in, you could put it in here and configure them here. So put their names in, the buttons, what they do, all this other information. So we're not going to toy around that at the moment. Alright, so here's what we're going to do. I'll try and keep this on the same screen. We're going to purposely move it far away from the enemy, and there you go, he just disappeared. See, he's automatically just destroying himself if we're not too close. However, I'm not going to outrun him. Oh! If you didn't see, the sphere just went away. The cube is about to go away, I think. Yep. And then these guys will. So there you go. Now our code is working. Next thing I want to do, because this is rather short, the next thing I want to do is collision and enemies. But one thing, it'll be super simple, is we want to get our camera to follow our player. So let's make a new script inside of our player class, and we're going to call it player camera. And obviously we're going to keep it basic, but it'll probably just follow the player's X and Y motion. However, like, the ideal one would be like if you played Mario, it has a threshold of left and right. You can move before the camera starts to update, and then it won't move if you're inside the middle value. Okay, public class, what is this, player camera? Oops, no. Alrighty, let's make a public game object player, and this time it's public, so we can drag it on because we're not spawning this at runtime. We can just drag him on. And just so you guys know, we used it because it's not called a lot. This is a rather simple game, but this method here is not a very good method to use all the time. That's why I put it in our start function, because this is to go through every single game object in this scene. And if, let's say, this was in our update function, it wouldn't be very good because it'd be sifting through every game object every single frame, and that's just wasting a lot of resources that we really don't need to be wasting. So next thing up in here, we'll do Voip Updates, and we will do transform dot position dot x. We can't set it that way. We'll do transform dot position equals new vector 3 transform dot position dot x transform dot position dot y transform dot position dot z, and then instead of this x here, we'll do player dot transform dot position dot x. So what this is every frame we're going to update our position to a new position with the player's x value, our y value, and our z value. So just the x and y should be updating. So let's go ahead and see if we can get this to work. Good. Main camera. We'll add in the player camera. Drag on our player. Hit play. Oh, there we go. And as you can see, stuff is moving. However, it's just that because it's not very smooth, it's very rigid right now. This is just what it looks like. Obviously, if it wasn't all white, the same background, it would look a little different. But I still want to add improvements to the script later. But just until things are basic, we've got, a working game. Once we're done with that, then we can add on improving stuff, working on more complex concepts and things like that. So what's left is obviously the health system, and then obviously some sort of combat system where we can defeat enemies, gain points, and get to the end of the level. Alright, so I'll see you guys next time.